All right, let's talk about the IELTS listening test. A lot of your success really comes down to understanding the blueprint behind the questions. So today, we're going to deconstruct one single super common prompt to show you exactly how the test is built and, more importantly, how you can master it.
This is it. This is the sentence that test creators often work from. Create a listening test involving customer complaints, refunds, repairs, or service details. Now, this one little sentence, it's the foundation for a ton of questions you're likely to face. It seems so simple, right? But trust me, every single word there is a giant signpost telling you exactly what to listen for.
And that right there is the key. You've got to stop thinking about this as an instruction for them. For you, the test taker, this is a roadmap. It literally highlights the 4 main territories you're going to have to navigate in the audio. And let's be honest, when you have the map, it's a whole lot harder to get lost.
So let's kick things off with a basic question. Why this scenario? I mean, out of all the possible conversations in the world, why are customer service calls so incredibly common on this test? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple.
This scenario is kind of like the perfect storm for testing your practical, real-world English. Think about it. It's just jam-packed with the exact kind of information you need to function in an English-speaking environment. You've got specific details, numbers, dates, names, all that problem-solving language. This isn't some stuffy academic lecture. It's designed to feel just like real life.
Okay, so let's dive into the core of that roadmap. The prompt gave us 4 crucial keywords, and these point directly to the 4 types of information you will almost certainly be asked about. We're going to break them down one by one.
And here they are: complaints, refunds, repairs, and service details. I want you to think of these as the 4 main pillars holding up any of these customer service listening tasks. Your job is to actively listen, constantly sorting what you hear into one of these 4 categories.
First up, complaints. This is basically the why behind the whole phone call. The customer has a problem, and your #1 task is to pinpoint exactly what that problem is.
So, the second you hear someone complaining, your ears need to perk up for those specific details. What exactly is broken? What's the model number they're rattling off? Is it AX500 or AY500? When was it purchased? And critically, what does the customer want done about it? A replacement? A different item? Every single one of these details is a potential test question.
Okay, our second pillar is refunds. This is all about money. And when a customer wants their money back, the conversation gets very, very specific, very fast.
This is where you really have to focus. You have to catch the exact dollar amount. Was that 1950 or 9015? They sound similar, but they're completely different answers. You'll probably hear policy numbers, dates, and you absolutely need to distinguish the method of repayment. Is it going to a credit card, or will they get store credit? The details are everything here.
All right, on to pillar number 3, repairs. So if the customer isn't getting a refund, they're probably trying to get something fixed. And this, of course, opens up a whole new set of details to listen for.
You're probably noticing the pattern here. Again, it's about specifics. You need to identify the type of damage. Is the screen cracked, or is the battery dead? Is the item still under warranty? They'll often talk about setting up an appointment, so be ready for dates and times. And yep, you guessed it, if there's a cost, you need to catch that exact number.
And finally, our 4th category, service details. This is kind of the catch-all bucket for all that personal data and reference information that makes the whole transaction possible. And you need to pay close attention here because honestly, this is where a lot of test takers get tripped up.
Think of this as pure data entry, but for your ears. You're going to hear names being spelled out. Is that SMITH or SMYTH? You'll hear long strings of numbers for accounts or phones and addresses with postal codes. The key is just intense focus, being ready to write down those letters and numbers precisely as you hear them.
So, we've broken down the 4 pillars of content, but now let's go a level deeper. Because the test isn't just measuring if you can hear these words, it's evaluating a very specific set of listening skills. You see, there are 2 skills at play here. There's listening for gist, which is about the big picture. Is the customer angry? What's the general outcome? But the IELTS test heavily favors listening for detail. The specific order number, the exact amount, the precise date. You definitely need both skills, but the points are in the details.
And it all really boils down to 4 core skills that they're testing.
So what are they? First, identifying that specific information, like we've been talking about, the dates, names, and numbers. Second, understanding the speaker's purpose and attitude. What do they want and how do they feel? Third, being able to follow the logical flow of the conversation from problem to solution. And fourth, and this one is so crucial, it's filtering out all the distractions, the filler words, the small talk, to extract only the key facts. These are the real targets of the test.
So now that we've deconstructed the entire blueprint, how do you actually use this knowledge to your advantage? How do you turn this analysis into action?
This is the ultimate takeaway. When you know the conversation is going to cover a complaint, a refund, a repair, or service details, you stop being a passive listener. You become an active participant, able to predict the kind of information that's going to be important before the question is even asked.
So here's your game plan. Start building up your vocabulary for these 4 topics. Actively practice listening for and writing down numbers and spelled out words. Find practice materials that mimic these calls. And as you listen, try to predict the questions. Think to yourself, okay, they just mentioned a problem with a product. I bet the model number's coming next.
We've given you the blueprint. We've deconstructed the test maker's plan. You can now see the structure behind the questions. So the only question that really remains is, now that you have the blueprint, how will you build your strategy?